Torrential rain in Yunlin and Nantou causes agricultural losses and endangers some households. We look at some incorrect movements and injuries that may cause people to suffer from frozen shoulder. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Margaret Lin. Thank you for joining us. The torrential rain in central and southern Taiwan has caused many damages in both Yunlin and Nantou. This involves vegetable farms, drainage systems, massive flooding, and severe landslides.
Days of torrential rain in Nantou caused flooding in Nangang River near the 41-kilometer section of Provincial Highway 14. From the bird's eye view, you can see that several landslides have occurred and parts of the retaining wall and ground have both collapsed.
We came to fix it as soon as the rain stopped. This is very urgent, and we will do everything we can to assist with the disaster relief.
Police officers from Guoxing Township Office formed a blockade line after assessing the disaster area. The River Management Office also covered the collapsed area with canvas to decrease the speed of the landslide and assigned officers to monitor the situation. 4 out of the 7 affected residents were households of the Wen family brothers. They were frightened by the accidental disaster, and the volunteers went to their house to comfort them. The residents say they have other houses nearby for them to stay, hence they turned down the accommodation offers. They would decide on the need to move depending on the weather. In Yunlin Xiluo, some vegetable farms were flooded due to the torrential rain, and all the vegetables have gone rotten. The cucumbers were floating in the water after the screen growth room was destroyed. The agricultural losses are being calculated.
Tima in Las Vegas organized its 8th dental-free clinic. A Vietnamese dentist who works 6 days a week sees the opportunity to give back to the community. He also coordinated his colleagues to come and volunteer as well.
The chairs in the waiting area were almost full, and on the other side, the doctor's hands were busy at work. The Tzu Chi Medical Association in Las Vegas held its 8th dental-free clinic, mainly serving the homeless population.
Our government doesn't have the money to take care of all the indigents. So it's important for us as Las Vegans to take our time, to spend the time to help out our people as much as possible.
The Vietnamese dentist Phang was the coordinator for the dental-free clinic. As for Matt, who lives in California, happily drove 5 hours to come volunteer for a second time. There was also Bruce, who had just been released from prison, joined the ranks for the very first time.
And somebody handed me the journal. I read the entire thing, and I was so inspired by what the people in Tzu Chi were doing themselves around the world. I felt compelled and the energy to move and also help and do the same thing.
There's something really infectious about being around people who are so appreciative and thankful for your help. And so I remember last time I was here, I just had so much fun that I couldn't miss out a second opportunity to do that again.
Haircuts and simple health checks were also available on site. All the people who came were very satisfied with the services.
It's my first time here, and these beautiful, wonderful people came to help me get my teeth cleaned, and I have a cavity in the back of my mouth. I haven't had my teeth cleaned for about over 10 years.
I was always cautious because I'm like, this is a community setting, I need sterilization. When I came in November, I was highly impressed. The staff was good, the volunteers were great, my teeth were clean, excellent.
This time, the free clinic was able to serve over 100 homeless individuals. It's a good way to let them know that they are not alone and are cared for by many.
Tzu Chi has been supporting impoverished students in China since 2009. Every year, volunteers will host 2 visitations for students from a junior high school and a job training center in Yi County. This year, there were a total of 74 families.
As soon as the volunteers saw the medications and Mr. Bai's arm, they instantly started to gather more information.
1个礼拜去县城去3次啊。
这怎么会是这样的情况呢？多少年了呀？
10年了。
The students who live in a school dorm only go back home once every 2 weeks.
Through home visitations, volunteers can truly see each student's family dynamic. This way, they can clearly evaluate the needs for academic scholarships and living expense and support from Tzu Chi.
The academic scholarships can drastically improve the students' families' financial situations. This way, they can really focus on their studies. The integral part is the monthly book readings and companionship from volunteers. This type of continuous care really uplifts the students and helps them walk out of darkness and despair.
Chen Dongshi suffers from epilepsy and she lives in the deep mountainous area with her dad and grandmother.
Grandma's house is quite clean.
Tang Yanjie's parents had a car accident and the family is struggling financially.
I see that you have kept this house very clean. It's all your efforts.
Home visitations allowed Tzu Chi volunteers to not only have face-to-face interactions, but also provide both financial and physical support to the families.
Every year on May 16th is Teachers' Day in Malaysia. The children from the Tzu Chi kindergarten in Kapong, Kuala Lumpur, served tea and gave unforgettable performances to thank their teachers.
The kindergartners used their tiny voices to show gratitude toward teachers at the Tzu Chi kindergarten in Kapong, Malaysia on Teachers' Day.
Thank you, teachers, for guiding us with thoughtfulness and helping us grow into kind-hearted children. Also, thank you for all the love and care.
Touching acoustic guitar music and all the rest of the performances were all planned by the parents and children.
The teachers, just like a candlestick, they sacrifice themselves in order to provide lights for others. As a parents, we should really have a respectful and grateful heart toward teachers.
Performing for the teachers because they spend time teaching us.
I was so touched to see all the children walk so gracefully into the room. When they served the teas, I couldn't help but tear up.
I'm beginning to see how much they have grown and matured. I feel like all the work and effort put into each child is really worth it in the end. So I'll keep on working hard for the children.
Such a simple and moving ceremony. For both the children and teachers, this will stay as a lifelong unforgettable memory.
Frozen shoulder is not limited to those who are 50 and above. In our next report, we will meet a woman in Taiwan who injured her shoulder from just a small movement 6 months ago. The shoulder joints became inflamed and gradually her range of motion was compromised. Finally, it was so painful that it was impossible for her to even fall asleep.
Arms cannot be lifted so high, which makes tying hair quite awkward. If the carrots are quite thick, it cannot be cut properly. Ms. Chen has been very depressed because all the normal housework has now become a giant challenge for her.
When I heard the term frozen shoulder, I was panicking because I'm not even 50 years old yet.
It's possible that the age of onset will go down because the cause may be just a sports injury. After a few months or maybe half a year, the joints slowly begin to harden. This is the main symptom of having frozen shoulder.
The official medical term for frozen shoulder is adhesive capsulitis. Even though the highest risk group is women over the age of 50, this condition could happen to younger individuals as well. In addition to age, gender, and other factors, most of the causes were from shoulder injuries and tendon inflammation.
If the inflammation is chronic, the joint will start to shrink. When it starts to tighten up, the joint angle will be altered. This will cause the range of motion in your arm to be limited.
Frozen shoulder is not just limited to people over the age of 50. Housekeepers, housewives, and teachers who write on whiteboards every day are also high-risk groups. Even just an incorrect movement can be the culprit. Recalling that half a year ago, an injury occurred while trying to pull a bag from the back seat with a twisted arm movement. At first, Ms. Chen didn't really think much about it, but then the joint started to tighten up. Her range of motion was more limited, and the pain was getting worse as time went on.
Over time, whenever I exerted force, it would hurt. The pain would last about 10 seconds or so, sharp, persistent pain.
Rehabilitation is key. With both hands in the back, a towel can be pulled up and down. The hand is slowly climbing up the wall. It must be noted that only in the absence of pain can the angle be increased in motion. Otherwise, it will have the opposite effect.
In fact, when it's all done, it will induce pain and the joint will be inflamed. On the day of therapy, noticeable progress will be made, but it's expected that the next day won't be as smooth.
One needs to be persistent in repeating the simple rehabilitation gestures. Cooperate with doctors and follow treatment plans. This is the only way to improve your range of motion and get rid of the limiting frozen shoulder.
The Genesis Social Welfare Foundation, which takes care of PVS patients, organized events for parents and children. The main purpose of the events was to encourage the participants to spend less time on 3C products and more time in helping within the community.
Children are following the movements of the Big Brother on the stage. The Genesis Social Welfare Foundation hosted an event to encourage children to avoid excessive use of 3C products.
The goal of this Parentchild event is for parents to bring their children to participate in doing charity together and also put away their 3C products for a while.
Parents and children are joining the activity for a good cause. Chen Ziyu feels especially touched because her mother has brought her to do good deeds since a young age.
My parents have brought me to do charitable work since I was little. I don't have the ability to make money yet, so that I can do now is to use my talent and donate my hair to help them.
Helping a PVS patient means to help a whole family. The medical expenses are very high, not to mention how exhausting and frustrating it is for a family. I believe this is a meaningful event, because you can do good deeds and also improve the parent-child relationship.
Genesis Social Welfare Foundation has 17 nursing homes in Taiwan, taking care of more than 700 patients. Every PVS patient requires $15 to $100 per month. They hope to fundraise more kindness and love to help more families in need.
Ke Hongyu, a graduate student from an elementary school in Taichung, suffers from cerebral palsy and autism. Although she is not able to speak, she is talented in writing and is able to express her feelings through a keyboard. Being touched by her article, a director, Cao Ruiyuan, made a charity short film for her, hoping that more people can learn more about autism and reach out to help.
Xiao Yu is the leading actress in this charity short film. The beautiful phrases in the film were all written by her.
我荡啊荡，旋转不出我的迷雾。我转啊转，穿越不出我的牵绊。
Xiao Yu suffers from cerebral palsy and autism, and her mother has been taking her to doctors for rehabilitation to prevent her from being paralyzed for her whole life. However, Xiao Yu wasn't able to speak. It was not until when she was 8 years old did their parents find out that she's able to communicate through a keyboard.
I told her it's been 8 years. We never knew what you're thinking. Can you please tell me? Then she typed to say that she's not stupid, she's very smart, and she can't stand that everyone thinks she's stupid.
Xiao Yu began to use a keyboard to express her feelings and has discovered her talent in writing.
我希望我的聪明是可以让很多人相信，让我情绪消失，无恨无怨。
The article shows her maturity and sensitivity. In the beginning, many people thought her mother wrote it for her, but Xiao Yu has since proved her talent to everyone.
She's very into her writing during the process. She had even bursted out crying when she was writing. We were all very touched because that was the first time I personally witnessed her writing a whole article.
Xiao Yu is a child with great perseverance. She's suffering inside, but she keeps on telling her mom that she wants to stay in the regular class. She has never given up on herself.
Studying with regular students is difficult, but Xiao Yu still graduated successfully this year. She has also won a President Educational Award for her outstanding performance.
Apparel manufacturers continue to search for cheap labor in developing countries. Textile and garments factories are labor-intensive industries, and unfortunately with low pay. Some employers even employ children, paying much less than adults. Although legislation does not allow child labor, in Bangladesh, where the law is not strict, it's still a huge problem.
The government of Bangladesh has made it clear that child labor is strictly prohibited, with heavy penalties enforced. But in this textile factory, we still see a lot of workers who we suspect are minors.
At some of the factories in Bangladesh, we have in fact seen several children working, which we suspect are about 10 years old.
Most parents in Bangladesh face the harsh reality of lessening the importance of education in the lives of their children. When some children drop out of school, they are forced to work.
Some people write a false age and claim that they are older. They even bring some certificate to come and register, and then the company hires them and they simply don't know about it.
The International Labor Organization survey found that there are still hundreds of thousands of child laborers in Bangladesh. They have almost no vacation and work 12 hours a day for just $1 US. The dream of these children is not to escape poverty, but just simply having a meal. What are the reasons for the textile and garment industry risking illegal employment and the need to employ child labor? Garment exports account for 90% of Bangladesh's total exports, with orders from all over the world. For factory owners to accept these orders and make more money, you have to hire more manpower.
The government haven't been effective in highlighting this issue. However, rising wage costs in other countries means that Bangladesh is still one of the preferred investment locations for foreign investors.
While foreign companies set up the factories, the people of Bangladesh provide pure labor, not the technology. According to a 2015 survey, the illiteracy rate in Bangladesh exceeded 43%, indicating that education amongst the local population is extremely lacking. As a result, many of these school children and even men who dropped out of school cannot find a good job. The vicious circle means that those with low education fall into the middle and lower classes of workers. In recent years, even women have joined the production chain. In the garment factories, female staff constitute the majority of workers.
কাজ করে অপরচুনিটিও ছিল না এখন গার্মেন্টস হয় কিন্তু আসলে এই অপরচুনিটি অনেক বাড়ছে এখন 60-70% আমি মনে করব ইভেন 80% মহিলারা কিন্তু দে আর নাও ওয়ার্কিং
In Bangladesh, where families have lots of children, women used to take care of their children at home. With the rise of labor-intensive industries, lifestyles have changed dramatically.
Among the 160 million people in Bangladesh, those who can work exceed 18 million or more.
According to data, the number of laborers in Bangladesh aged 15 to 64 is 61% of the total population. This means that over half of the country's population is working. This data, at first glance, suggests that Bangladesh should benefit from full employment, but there is a cruel reality behind this statistic. Pollution, transport, and work safety are serious problems. The average life expectancy of Bangladeshis is not high. Many people fall ill before they retire, as the working population is more than half. Your clothes may be printed made in Bangladesh, as this may remind people of the movie Blood Diamond.
One day, a female woman worker went to give birth, but died in hospital because she had no money for cesarean section. When I heard the news that the next morning from other people, I was so sad that we couldn't save the mother and son's lives.
Going to Bangladesh 16 years ago, Mr. Zhou now employs more than 2,700 employees in his garment factory. He only realized at that moment that he wasn't taking good care for his employees, so he established a special fund to care for the poor.
Poor people are going to the bank to borrow about $300 to give birth, and the bank says, sorry, wrong number. I thought that our factory should establish a fund for these poor people. And whenever one gets pregnant or their father passes away, they can borrow from this fund.
When I was sick and when my brother was sick, it's hard to go to the bank to borrow money, but it's easy to borrow from the factory, which is very helpful to us.
Eliminating the urgent economic worry for these workers also allows these long-term employees to appreciate their boss who is looking after their health. Employees' human rights and welfare are gradually looking up. Inside this large garment factory is something like a small hospital clinic, as there is a pharmacy and even a doctor's office. There's even wards for men and women.
If a worker has a cold or stomach pain, these minor problems can be a problem for poor families who may not be able to buy expensive medicine. Our factory doctors can diagnose and treat them.
The factory has a hospital and a nursery. This can help avoid accidents when children are left home alone. Mr. Zhou hopes to end the cycle of tragedy which besets the poor. Though his factory is working to end this, they continue at other textile and garment factories in Bangladesh.
Transnational corporation will pick countries with low labor costs and will pick countries with low labor costs and local cultural characteristics, but this could destroy global relations.
Clothes made in Bangladesh, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Indonesia are all available to Taiwan consumers as multinational corporations continue to seek out the lowest possible labor costs. However, lowering their costs can intrude upon human rights as there's a very big price to pay for cheap clothing.
A charity organization in Taiwan has initiated a fundraiser, asking children to answer questions. Once the children answer the questions correctly, an enterprise where member of the public will buy coffee beans from Malawi to help improve the country's economy.
The children pick a task from 7 categories and answer the question. Then they can win a coffee bean.
By answering the question, we can help them sell coffee beans. The more questions we answer, the more coffee beans can be sold.
People in Malawi do not have good incomes, and many children cannot go to school.
Malawi is located in Southeast Africa, and the average income of its citizens is about $1 a day. Therefore, a charity organization has initiated a fundraiser. If an elementary school student can memorize an English vocabulary, they ask an enterprise or public to buy coffee beans from Malawi.
After we buy coffee beans, the small farmers in Malawi will earn an income. The proceeds from selling these coffee beans will be used to support Malawi's community programs, such as scholarships or small loans.
Besides memorizing English vocabularies, the children are also fundraising $300 by selling the jam they made at school.
We picked the mulberries on campus and made them into jam. After selling the jam, we donate the money to the foundation.
The children are actively finding ways to help Malawi. Over the course of 5 years, 75,000 children from more than 700 elementary schools have participated in a vocabulary test, doing their best to help those in need.
Daling Hospital in DaAi County was invited to attend the International Medical and Healthcare Exhibition, where they promoted technically advanced methods to improve overall medical care. We will leave you with these images. See you next time.